Good afternoon, everyone. Well, good afternoon, morning, evening, depending on where you are and where you classify those things. I'm Dave Alton. I'm with Strategic Information Resources, and we are going to be covering securing your future, why cyber liability insurance is crucial. We're going to give it about 5 minutes and make sure everyone that is attending is able to get in. And then once we get everybody in, we'll start. I'm going to go ahead and turn myself off camera and mute myself, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes to kick this off. Right, it looks like everyone's in the meeting at this point, and we're going to kick it off. So again, my name is Dave Alton. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Strategic Information Resources. And today we're going to be talking about securing your future and why cyber liability insurance is crucial. So who is Strategic Information Resources and this Dave Alton guy? Well, we are a tech company that helps manage our clients' information technology, typically referred to as a managed service provider. We pride ourselves on protecting your people and your profits and making sure that the hackers stay out. We're solutionists, and we really provide comprehensive cyber first approach to everything we do. So not just cybersecurity, but all of the IT that we do for our clients always has security in mind. We have a team of 18 people. We're based out of Los Angeles, but have offices around the country as well as clients. So we try to make tech work. Our tagline is we make tech work, and communication is the foundation of everything we do. And oftentimes we find that communicating things is what we're best at and what we're known for. So we're going to jump into the agenda here. So today we're just going to walk away. We want you guys to walk away with some idea of how to protect your business and some of the best ways to utilize cybersecurity insurance to handle that. We're also going to talk a little bit about, what it is, what this growing threat landscape looks like around cybersecurity, some coverage details and case studies. We're going to talk a little bit about what a risk assessment is and how it helps with your cyber liability insurance. Some of the financial impacts of cyber attacks, and then some steps or things that you could do, right, to help enhance your own security. So hopefully you'll leave here with some practical things that you can take back later today and implement to help with some of your cybersecurity concerns. So what is cyber liability insurance? Well, cyber liability insurance is a specialized insurance product that is designed to help businesses and individuals mitigate the risks associated with cyber incidents. Typically, it covers costs related to data recovery, legal fees, notification to affected parties, can include credit monitoring services, business interruption costs, and public relation efforts. And it's pretty essential in protecting your business from the financial impact of cyber incidents. It really helps provide, that peace of mind to be able to conduct business. And when things do go horribly wrong, it helps with things like reputation management, some of the legal compliance aspects that you need to manage, various financial protections, and business continuity. Last year, we're going to get into these numbers more, but last year, the average cyber event cost most businesses around $5 million. Now, granted, there were some really big ones that have happened over this year, and then there's a lot of small ones that happened. So those are averaged out. But even still, the number of cyber attacks is always on the rise, and there is never enough protections that you can put in place. So having something like cyber liability insurance to help defray and mitigate some of those costs and risks is a great idea. So what does that growing threat landscape look like? So what we're seeing today, and most everyone's pretty familiar with this, right, is it's a phishing attack or spoofing, some kind of ransomware malware. There's things like spear phishing, where it's a form of phishing, but it's very targeted and directed. There's now smishing, which is the bad guys using cell phones to perpetrate cyber crimes and get you to click on things. So this number, when we look numbers up, we're always kind of surprised by them, right? From 2019 to present day, ransomware events have increased around 1,200%, more than 1,200%, right? 1,281%. It's a staggering number how much more cyber threat there is in our current world versus in the past. So when we talk about this stuff, it isn't anecdotal. We really do see this massive amount of additional attacks happening day in and day out. So comprehensive cyber liability insurance is really critical for defraying, like I said, those costs that potentially shut your business down, right? Think about it. If the average cost is $5 million, do you have $5 million in the bank to kind of throw at it? If you're underinsured, right? If you don't have a coverage high enough, would you essentially be at risk of, the insurance company paid the $100,000 that I had in coverages, but I had another $4.9 million that I had to dole out to get everything back up and running. And that doesn't all come day one, but it does come, and we're going to talk a little bit further in this presentation about the long tail effects of cybercrime. So continuing the growing threat, right? In 2023, 72.7% of all organizations have fallen prey to some kind of cyber attack. That is also another staggering number. That means almost three quarters of every business out there has had some level of cyber attack, and some of them multiple times. And it's very likely that number is still underreported. If you consider business email compromise, along with phishing and smishing and some of the newer forms of cyber attack, like, deep fakes and stuff like that, that number, I wouldn't be surprised if that number went for a lot higher than it is right now. Maybe it's not 90%, but 80% does seem like a very likely number for people that have fallen prey to some kind of cyber attack. And then the reason why cyber attack is growing and continues to grow is cybercrime will likely reach a $10.5 trillion $10.5 trillion annual spend. That's how much the cyber criminals are making. It's its own industry. And it's not like a little tiny thing anymore. This isn't the guy sitting in his basement, his mom's basement with a hoodie on, doing like cool little hacks and getting his name out there. These are people that are organized and have HR departments and help desks and all the other business functions around, finances and marketing and things like that. It's just built around a criminal organization. And so it's surprising to people that, you look at a $10.5 trillion industry, that is a huge amount of money, and everyone wants a piece of it. So of course they're organized, of course they want to do this, and of course they're trying to grow it just like any other business, right? So we're gonna jump through some coverages and some examples and what some things were covered. Now, the insurance industry changes all the time. We are not insurance agents. We wouldn't know what to sell you or anything else. And by law, we're not allowed to. But we have seen the insurance landscape change drastically in the past 4 years, where it used to be you could get a policy, you didn't really have to do much for it. You check some boxes. They said, sure, here's $1 million. And then when something happened, you call them up and say, hey, something's happening. And they're like, sure, here's, $500,000 or $150,000 to cover your expenses, right? It was pretty loosey-goosey. That is not the case anymore, right? Comprehensive coverage really does dig into a lot more detail about what you're doing to protect yourself on the internet, right? How your company runs, what are your policies in place, and things like that. If they're there, these coverages are very rock solid. They're very good at paying. They have very good, you know, comprehensive coverage to manage these, crazy cyber events. But we have seen it where people don't take those applications seriously, and the insurance company does an investigation. They look into everything and they determine that, oh, well, you weren't doing the things that you said you were going to do. We're not going to pay out. We have seen a fair amount of that. So those things have changed quite a bit. We have not seen the days in past where I could just call up and say, yeah, there was a ransomware attack. I had to pay the ransom. It was, $250,000, and I was out of business for 7 weeks, so I need, some other level of compensation. So keep that in mind as you're looking at coverages and coverage details. So we are going to highlight some of what the case studies have. Really, the cyber liability insurance covers things like financial protection, and can significantly reduce the financial burden associated with a cyber attack. It could include the ransom payment, legal fees, and some type of business loss or business interruption loss. They also have some crisis management components to most cyber coverages that gives you access to things like public relations support, expert advice, can help businesses manage the fallout from a cyber incident and restore stakeholder trust. And then they also have you look at having proactive measures in place, conducting regular risk assessments, having robust cybersecurity measures in place, and making sure that your people are aware, trained, and understand your policies around operating in your business with your clients' data. So we're gonna start with case study 1. This is a mid-sized healthcare provider experienced a ransomware attack that encrypted patient records, making them inaccessible. Unfortunately, this happens far too often to far too many health organizations. They are one of the larger top targets next to financial institutions. So we're going to kind of break down what happens. So the impact of this is there's an immediate shutdown of operations. They really can't get patients' treatment schedule. They can't see what drugs they've been given. Some of the nursing information is not available, except what's written down. And the attacker demands, a ransom of $1 million in Bitcoin. So the insurance coverage. The healthcare provider had a comprehensive cyber liability insurance policy. The policy covered the ransom payment, data recovery costs, and business interruption losses. The provider also received public relations support to help manage the crisis and restore trust. What was the outcome from this? The healthcare provider paid the ransom and recovered the encrypted data. The business resumed operations within a week. The incident reinforced the importance of cybersecurity measures and the value of having a robust an insurance policy. So this is a real world example. We've obfuscated a lot of data to not give anything away, but these are things that have happened and how they were recovered. It's unfortunate this isn't how it happens every time. If, for instance, they decided not to pay the ransom, that 1 week of downtime could be something in the neighborhood of 3 weeks, because law enforcement gets involved and has to commandeer computers and, build a chain of custody so that they can build a case against whoever the perpetrator is. So our second case study is a retail chain experienced a data breach where cyber criminals access customer payment information. This impacted over 500,000 records. The company faced potential legal action and regulatory fines. The breach damaged the company's reputation, leading to a decline in sales. The insurance coverage was that the policy covered legal fees, notification costs, and credit monitoring services for affected customers. The policy also included public relations expenses to manage the crisis. The outcome of this, the company avoided significant financial losses due to the comprehensive coverage. Not all significant, right? It's important to note that you're probably never going to get a policy that covers all expenses, but it'll cover a large portion of them. Customers were notified properly and promptly. The credit monitoring services helped mitigate further damage for those clients that had their data stolen. The retail chain implemented additional security measures to prevent future breaches. And then our last case study is around a manufacturing firm. They had a supply chain attack where a trusted vendor system was compromised, allowing attackers to infiltrate the firm's network. Unfortunately, this is far too common. If you think about you use a ERP system or some kind of professional services software, those types of systems are supply chain, right? That's how you get your work done. And if those systems go down, how are you able to work? Can you work? Things like that. So what's the impact? Production was halted for 2 weeks, which the firm incurred substantial financial losses due to the downtime and missed deadlines. Sensitive intellectual property was at risk. Insurance coverage covered the business interruption losses and the recovery costs. The policy also provided resources for a forensic investigation to understand the breach's origin and prevent future incidents. That forensic investigation, that's a piece that takes a lot of time. So if you don't have a plan in place, even if you have good insurance and all your backups and everything else, you could still have a lot of downtime, because while they do those forensics, those machines basically need to be kept pristine and offline, so only the forensic team can look at those. So imagine if you're, doing your day-to-day, how would you do your job without your computer, right? And that's really what some of this boils down to. What was the outcome? The manufacturing firm recovered from the attack with minimal financial impact, meaning the insurance company paid for some of those pieces that they were being charged for, right? The forensic investigation helped identify and rectify vulnerabilities in the supply chain. And then finally, the firm strengthened its cybersecurity posture and vendor management process, right? So, hey, I have this third party. What do I do when it's not available or it doesn't work? So one of the things that go along with cyber liability insurance is the recognition of risk. And a lot of people, think of business risk as, well, I've got financial losses and I've got my business interruption and, catastrophic kind of things. But when we're talking about cyber liability insurance, we're really talking about mitigating risk that your business takes on conducting business in the modern age. Having a cybersecurity risk assessment done allows you to build a foundation of what needs to be worked on. A lot of times companies will go and say, oh, I'm going to go buy all these tools and widgets and things and put them in place, and hopefully everything will work the way it's supposed to. And what we often find is, one, they're probably not working effectively and efficiently, but two, it may be actually a drag on their business because they didn't set them up right and they're not used to the workflows. And they might not have even had to do some of those things, depending on what industry they're in or what kind of data they deal with or how they protect that data, if it's segmented and things like that. So when we conduct a CSRA or a cybersecurity risk assessment, we really look at the entirety of the systems. What's the network look like? What's the data look like? How do people operate within those systems? What are your policies that are in place? And then we can start to figure out, okay, how do we protect you? What's the best forms? And what's the thing that's going to get us the most protected for the least amount of money, the quickest? And we really start to prioritize that. This is really important because most cyber liability insurance policies require you to perform some kind of yearly risk assessment and maintain a certain security posture. But if you don't know what you're protecting or how it needs to be protected or what the holes are, it's really, really tough to do. So it's really important to conduct that cyber liability risk assessment, look through your particulars and figure out, do I need to do this, or is this something that is unnecessary? maybe if I was in a different industry or I was doing a different thing, it'd be more important. So we're going to talk a little bit about the financial impacts of cyber attacks. We got most of these stats from the from IBM and a few insurance forms. And broker, I think, is where this picture comes from. But a lot of people think that, oh yeah, there's the ransom, and then I'm going to pay some fees to some regulatory body, and I'll probably be done. But as you can see here, it is very, very common to see that first initial burst of, hey, I got to pay somebody to fix this stuff. It doesn't stop when you're done fixing it. We've seen the costs continue out year 2 and year 3. Definitely not as much, but it is something to keep in mind. You can never take cyber security and say, oh yeah, I'm done. I don't have to do anything anymore. It's all fixed. That is not reality. That is definitely as far from reality as you can get. What we have to do as cybersecurity professionals is we have to pay attention to what's happening in the marketplace. How are the bad guys getting in? What are some of the things that they're doing? Because we're always having to adjust how exactly that we're protecting those networks and things. So IBM says the average cost of a data breach is $5.09 million. Premiums collected in 2022 surged 50% to a total of $7.2 billion. Now, I don't know if you remember, but earlier on I mentioned a statistic around it's a $1 trillion industry, right? 10 point something trillion dollars. That is 7.2 billion is less than 10% of that total. So if you think about it, somebody is paying those costs somewhere, right? In 2023, we talked about this earlier, 72% of all organizations have fallen prey to some form of cyber attack. Recovery costs in a ransomware attack are around $1.82 million. That doesn't include the ransom itself or any fines or fees associated with that ransom or protections that you have to put in place or legal fees that you have to pay, right? That is just the financial impacts. And we've seen this with our clients that have had some kind of cyber attack perpetrated upon them where, yeah, it starts off as, okay, you got to pay $40,000 and, you kind of get everything back. But we know of situations where that there was a portion of that $40,000 you had to pay in year 2 and you had to pay in year 3. And in some cases is still paying today. So you really, really do have to protect from getting attacked. And when you are attacked, really limit that blast radius. The other thing that is interesting, this didn't used to be the case. It used to be the cyber criminals were actually really good at providing you the ransomware key. But that has become less the case. Right now, what we're seeing in 2023 and 2024 is around 8% get their data back. Either they get the data unencrypted, but the bad guys have still stolen it and they're selling it or doing something with it. Or when you get the encryption key, it doesn't work, it's wrong, all of these things. And quite honestly, once you've paid, they don't really care about you. So if your encryption key doesn't work, you're just kind of, out of luck. So it's really, we know that there are circumstances and situations where you should pay the ransom because you are tight on time or you have critical infrastructure or whatever the case may be, and you want to get back up and running as quickly as possible. And that oftentimes is the fastest way to do it. However, given the low percentage that people receive their data, around 8%, we highly recommend not paying the ransom. Make sure you have good backups in place and things to mitigate that, limit the blast radius, to a small attack surface. And yeah, you might lose a computer or you might lose a couple of computers, but you're probably not losing your whole network or your whole entire database or things like that. So what are some of the things that you can do to enhance your cybersecurity? So we kind of have a laundry list here, right? Backup, spam, email, passwords, firewalls, updates. Those last 3, those last three are crucial things, and things that you could do today without really a whole lot of cost or disruption to your business. So first is get some form of security awareness training. It is imperative that your people are trained on not only what cyber threats exist and how they operate and things like that, but also your policies around how are they allowed to handle data? What happens if they see something? That their screens are locked and things like that, right? It's the simple stuff oftentimes that it provides the most protection. So having people trained and well aware of, hey, this is what we do when something goes wrong, and hey, these are the policies that we do around passwords and protecting client data, and not everyone can see it, only the people that need to. Those things really make a big difference. The other one is multi-factor authentication. If a bad guy gets into your systems, multi-factor authentication oftentimes is going to prevent them from being able to do anything further. They may get your username and password. That username and password may work, but because they have to have that second factor, it's very challenging for them to move on or do more. It's not impossible. There are ways around MFA and things like that, but it is very difficult, and you really need to be a target for that to be worth it for the bad guy. And then the last one is encryption, right? Put encryption on data at rest, data in motion, and on any offsite backups or things that are stored off premise, such that if someone were to take them, they can't really look at them or use them or anything else, because those systems are locked with your data being encrypted. So how do you what else could you do to enhance your cybersecurity? And all, this is the shameless plug, but you could work with us, right? We make your tech work, keep your people protected, and your profits secured. We have a cyber first mindset. Relationships really matter to us, and we're your team of solutionists. When you have Sirinc in your back pocket as your IT team, we're there to protect you and make sure things go the way they're supposed to, and put plans in place for when they don't go exactly when they don't go exactly the way they're supposed to. So you can try and piece this together yourself. Nothing I've talked about here requires, any kind of managed service provider or IT guy, but oftentimes we find it's a challenge, right? You have to understand a lot of what's available in the marketplace, how bad guys get in, what sort of things you need to protect. And you kind of just want to run your business, right? You just kind of want to do what you do to, serve your clients and serve your community and things like that. And it can take months, it can take years to get all this stuff right and have all the things in place. Or you can partner with a qualified team of professionals, right? We're definitely that. There's lots of us out there. I would suggest that you make sure they're qualified and that they can be who you need them to be, right? A, cybersecurity driven technology services organization that understands how to treat their clients, build relationships and trust. And when something goes horribly wrong, plans are in place to make sure that you're protected in an event. So what's your next step? Okay, so next step, take a minute, click this link. My good friend and colleague, Carly, is going to drop that in the chat. That link will take you to a place where you can sign up and have a quick 15 to 20-minute call with me or someone from our team and talk about your specific cybersecurity issues and concerns. So please go in, take that next step, look at that, and book that session with us, your strategy session with us, so that we can look over what you have today and see if we can help you. So that's it for the formal presentation. We are going to jump into some questions. We typically stop recording now so that people can feel free to ask questions in whatever manner they choose to. If you do have any questions, please pop those into the Q&A or into the chat, and we will get to those as they come up. Well, that was all the questions for today. We typically don't record those, so We just wanted to thank everyone for coming. If you need to book a strategy session with us, so we can go over your particulars around cybersecurity, your coverages, and things like that, please feel free, click the link, type that into a browser, book a session with either me or one of our team to go over your particulars. We really appreciate you coming today. I'm watching this. If you watch it later after it's been live, if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we're here to help.